and some maybe some new faces. But we're going to have a thoughtful conversation around 3 groups today with Sunshine and Daisy Food Mobile, mobile food pantry, mobile food pantry, and the mobile food pantry is outside. So after this, we're going to go and see it for those that would like to. Yep. So that's exciting. Sunshine and Daisy with Gretchen Gentz and Andrea Danette. Then we have Janice Hall here with Recover Food, Feed Hope, and she is a member of Holy Communion. I'm going to share a little bit more about her in just a minute. And then we have 2 folk that may seem familiar to you. They may not, but it's the Busbys are in the house, Suzanne and Larry, to talk a little bit about St Vincent DePaul and the food pantry there. So with that goodness and that teaser, I'm going to invite us to pray. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for the gift of community and for the ways in which you call each one of us to be your hands and feet in the world, to remind us again and again that as we go about our world, that we see you in each and every person around us, and that there is need, and that there is hope, and together there is a way in which we can move forward to end hunger, but we need to do it together. So bless us in this time as we listen, as we learn, as we explore how we can go deeper by being your hands and feet and living into your gospel to feed the hungry. Thank you for this time, and thank you for these food ministries that are doing incredible work. Come, O Holy Spirit, come now and always. And together your people say, Amen. Well, this morning, I have the pleasure to introduce these wonderful folk. I'm going to begin with Gretchen Gentz and Andrea Danette from Sunshine and Daisy Mobile Food Pantry. Gretchen is a lifelong Memphian and Cradle Episcopalian. She has an interdisciplinary undergraduate degree concentrated on social work and special education, as well as a master's degree in training and development. And Gretchen has always worked in the nonprofit sector. And she is in her 18th year, right, as the upper school learning specialist at Hutchison School, where she loves working with the girls there, especially one-on-one. And it's in her free time that she enjoys feeding folk, whether that's from the Sunshine and Daisy mobile food pantry bus or with family and friends in her kitchen. And being in community with other people and making memories is her priority. And then there's other co-founder, Andrea Danette. I'm pulling up her bio. Andrea has worked full-time in information security for International Paper for 17 years. She has 2 adult children, 2 adorable grandsons, and a loving partner. She loves the people in this city and how it is a big, small town. That is so true. She loves that she always runs into someone she knows while out and about. And a challenge that she sees for our city is the availability and access to nourishing food. I like how she said nourishing food in neighborhoods without grocery stores. She's also an avid bike rider and loves to ride around Memphis and see different parts of the world that way too. Welcome. Then we have wonderful Janice Hall, who is a member of Holy Communion, and she serves there has served as vestry, pastoral care, and welcome ministries. And she is one of the leaders for the Recover Food, Feed Hope, RFFH. It's a food ministry there. She is a retired senior executive with Estee Lauder Companies and lived in New York City for 20 years with her husband, John. She is thrilled to be back in Memphis with family and friends and to lead and grow Recover Food, Feed Hope ministry. And her dream for our community is to continue to close the gap on food insecurity in Memphis. Welcome. And then we have Suzanne and Larry Busby. Larry is a lifelong GSL member. Suzanne said she is not, but she's been a member for 30 years. That seems pretty lifelong. They are both native Memphians, and they became involved with St Vincent DePaul Food Mission through their food and catering business by beginning to donate food there. And once retired, they began volunteering and becoming a part of the Food Mission Board. They love the volunteer spirit and generosity of Memphis, as well as the help your neighbor belief and call. They think one of the major challenges in Memphis is food insecurity, growing homelessness, and affordable housing for low-income families. We're glad you're here too. So let's give them all a round of applause. Yay. So I was hoping first, and I think Gretchen and Andrea will begin with you. Tell us a little bit about your organization. Like, paint a picture for us. What is a rhythm, a day in the life of purpose, whatever you'd like. Imagine some of us may know, but some of us may not know. So paint us a picture. And your microphone's right there.
Good morning. So we put these cards on your chairs, and we start every day of our work with this intention, so I thought I would read it now. We start with, peace be with you, and it just sounds familiar, doesn't it? And the leader says, as we gather together under the, and then we just name the weather, because we're outside when we're doing this because we take the food out into the neighborhoods. And today it's under the sun. We hope that the work we are doing in our community will be a sign of our love and care for our friends and our community as a whole. We hope that the food we give nourishes the bodies of our friends, and the relationships we form strengthen connections within all of us. May we be safe and free from harm and come home safe to those we love and cherish. And everybody responds, I am in. When we feed every Saturday, and on the first and third Saturdays of the month, we take our bus out, which you're going to get to see after this is over. Our bus is outside. And we drive into the Nutbush area. We have 2 locations that we go to, and one of them is an empty lot where a man who lives on the street generously lets us park the bus there free of charge. And we actually drive up into the lot. We always have a line of people waiting for us. They know we're coming. And we set our bus up like a grocery store with whatever food we've gleaned that week. And we also have donations from individuals. So we glean from Whole Foods on Saturday morning. So we have our volunteers. We show up early in the morning. We get the bus all loaded with the food, and then we head out to the neighborhood, and we set it up so that it's like sections of fresh food and dry food and everything. We also try to have diapers for the people who have young children. Those are harder to come by, and we try to have pet food too. Those donations are some things that are difficult for us to get, but we have them. When we have them, we give them out to the families. And then the families come on one at a time, or the individual comes on one at a time to select what they want. Andrea and I used to drive around. We started out 7 years ago feeding from my old minivan, and Dawn Kurika has seen the minivan. Because we used to feed from St. Elizabeth's. We started out under the umbrella of St. Elizabeth's Episcopal Church, but some of you might know that it closed, unfortunately. So Andrea and I decided to go out on our own and continue that work that we were doing. And we would drive around in the minivan and dream about the bus, and the bus came to us through another Episcopal family, one of my youth group. His name is Daniel Eldridge. He does not live in Memphis anymore, but his wife worked at Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and they had an auction, and the bus was in the auction. So we bid on the bus and got the bus, and it was exactly like we dreamt about. Thank you from the universe who just put it together like we wanted it. And so people come onto the bus. We have back steps. They come onto the bus, up the back steps, and then they shop for what they need. And our hope was that families would have the dignity to choose what they needed for their family themselves, what worked for their needs. And so that's what they do. And then the second and fourth Saturdays, our food goes to a local men's recovery house called the Warrior Center, which is over on Sims. And then if there's a fifth Saturday, that food goes to another a husband and wife team who volunteers for us and takes the food out to a different area of town. And that's generally, that does not include, I guess, that's our general rhythm of feeding. So we do the feeding for a few hours at this one location, an hour, and then we go to another location, some apartments in the same neighborhood. We also do emergency food boxes any day of the week. We budgeted for 3 a week. We could send out 3 a day. Unfortunately, right now we have a waiting list because we both work full-time and we only have so much food. So we have about 13 people on a waiting list, and we're actually going to work on that. So she and I work full-time, but we also probably work 20 to 40 hours a week after work, sorting food, picking up food. Whenever people have donations, we have to, we go to their houses and pick it up, or to church and pick it up, or wherever. So we're also gleaning food from Recover Food, Feed Hope once a week, and we have been picking it up, but they're going to start delivering it to us soon. But there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that has to take place that we do together.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. We're so excited to tell you about Recover Food, Feed Hope. And, probably 8 months ago, we decided we needed a brand and a name versus just the food ministry, because we really wanted people to understand what our mission was, and that we really wanted to help alleviate food insecurities. We got started, we've been a partner with Grace St. Luke's and More Than a Meal for, I think it's getting close to 20 years. We also have worked with the St. Luke's Food Pantry and then provided snacks for the Emmanuel Center for many years. But during COVID, Constance Abbey reached out, which is a men's shelter down by St. Mary's, and they were in dire need of support. There were many hungry people coming to their shelter, and we started a sandwich ministry, a brown bag sandwich ministry. And so we would all make our sack lunches, come to the church to drop them off, stood 6 feet apart, and that was basically all the socialization any of us had during COVID. But we were able to feed, in partnership with several other groups, we were able to provide lunch 7 days a week for the people coming into Constance Abbey. And then we began to do hot food for them, and we created meal kits. If you've ever had meal kits delivered, we were creating those meal kits and then sending them out to volunteers to actually prepare the food, bringing them back to the church, and sending them down to Constance Abbey. So we had quite the operation going when we weren't even supposed to be together, but we did it with 6 feet apart and in our parking lots. At that point, we were approached by the St. Andrew's Society and Clean Memphis to begin becoming a partner in the gleaning program. And for those of you, you talked about gleaning, it's where you're recovering food from many places, but it has a biblical beginnings in Deuteronomy 24:19, where it's gathering the remains of the crop after harvest, that you're supposed to leave things for the widows and the orphans, or that you might want to look up. So we started gleaning with the Agri Center, and we get all of their gleanings every Wednesday during farmers market season. And we began to grow, so then we started creating prepared meals that we were given to the Emmanuel Center, Constance Abbey, and First Congo. First Congregation was feeding lots and lots of people during COVID, and their kitchen was shut down. So we supported them with hot meals. They had got hot meals. So then we continued to be able to partner. It's wonderful when one door closes, another opens, and we developed a partnership with Rhodes, where we glean from Rhodes College, and we get the food from their student cafeterias every Sunday. And if you have any children in college, you can, when you see the food come in, your children are not using their food cards, because the healthy food is usually what's left. If there's any pasta or anything, it's gone. But the green beans, the broccoli, the Brussels sprouts, but that's okay, because we turn them into delicious meals. So we've evolved into feeding anywhere from 500 to 600 people a week with pre-prepared frozen meals. So we glean food from multiple locations, which includes Rhodes College, Hog Wild, a movable feast, their catering division, Panera Bread, FedEx Event Center. We receive the food 2 times a week, and then we turn it into meals. So we try to have a protein, 2 vegetables, some bread, and we put it in aluminum pans, we freeze it, we mark it, and we send it out. And those meals feed. They usually have anywhere, you can get 2 to 3 meals out of each meal. And we partner now with the Emmanuel Center, First Congregation, Hope House, Dorothy Day, LeSue, Room at the Inn, 901 Refrigerators, which have 3 locations where they have just refrigerators in parking lots where anyone can come up. We've started a very interesting partnership just over the last 6 weeks with Barth House, the Episcopal Student Center on campus at U of M. There's a lot of, believe it or not, food insecurity on campus. So We are providing meals for them. And Sunshine Daisy is one of our favorite partners, and we've been working with them now, I guess, maybe 3 months. Time flies when you're having fun and you're feeding people. We have about anywhere between 30 and 40 volunteers. So we have people that come in and cook, because we prepare a lot of stuff comes in with just ingredients. So we cook food, and then we glean food that's already been prepared. We're known for our pickles, our squash casseroles, and we understand that our barbecue lasagna that we served last week here for More Than a Meal was quite a hit. So we do have some favorite recipes. Hog Wild, a movable feast, is a strong partner, so we get a lot of barbecue. Actually, I was at an event they catered last night, and I went in the kitchen. I said, I sure hope there's some leftovers for us on Monday. So they've been quite generous. We have a shared leadership model because we don't want everyone to get burned out. So we have 4 people that kind of share the leadership. We have about 30 to 40 volunteers a week, as I said, and we're feeding anywhere from 500 to 600 people. So it's so fun. We've been recognized in the Daily Memphian, Edible Memphis, and then we were nominated, which I think just everyone here at this table has been nominated as a community changer. So it's fun, it's fellowship, and it's certainly a way for us to give back and have a strong outreach. One thing we're doing that I'd love to make you aware of is we're having a crop drop. And all I have is visions of stuff coming in from the sky when they say drop, but actually a large truck is delivering 40,000 pounds of sweet potatoes to the parking lot of Holy Communion next Saturday. And if you've driven by Holy Communion recently, you know, we're at the corner of Walnut Grove and Perkins. Well, we have a lot going on. We're working on our memorial garden. Our steeple is off the church. We just have a lot of things happening at Church of the Holy Communion. Now we're going to have 40,000 pounds of sweet potatoes on our front lawn. So you can imagine what Father Sandy has said to us about those sweet potatoes. Make sure they are distributed and everyone receives them for Thanksgiving. But we're looking for volunteers to help bag the potatoes, and we're working with agencies all across the community to make sure that they have sweet potatoes to use for the people that they're feeding. We know Sunshine Daisy has committed to 1,000. We know that the group that provides gleaning to St. Vincent's has committed to 5,000 pounds, so I think our partners here today will have plenty of sweet potatoes. But if you are interested in volunteering, we have a QR code right on the middle table back there. You can just scan it on your phone and sign up, and we would love to have you. We think we're going to have a lot of fun. Thank you.
That's hard to follow. 40,000, that's a lot of sweet potatoes.
Yes, it is.
But 1,400 meals a week. Wow. 250 people who are hungry every day, with many of them eating only once a day. Wow. 365 days a year. Find food for them. Find volunteers to serve the food and fix the food. What is your household budget? What's the time needed to prepare, serve, and clean up after every meal? Consider what multiplying that into the governance of approximately 250 people depending on you to open the door daily for food. It's sobering. St. Vincent DePaul Food Mission is unlike, but similar to what we've already heard. It is a part of a lay Roman Catholic organization, which began in 1833 in France. The food mission in Memphis began in 1988 when St. Vincent DePaul, Memphis, was asked by Sacred Heart Church to help provide food for the homeless. They quickly outgrew the church, and the mission moved down to the street to an old radio station. And we still have people that say they come to the radio station for food. We're known. That was where they remained until 2012, when they purchased 1306 Monroe, which is right behind the Social Security office, and it is an old Methodist church, part of which burned down, and then we've got a vacant lot as well as the original church. I've included some pictures back there which show you not only the church, but our chapel, which we now allow people to come back into. And it was renamed to the Ozamon Center, which is named after the man he was a student in France, who actually began St. Vincent DePaul. His name was Frederick Ozamon. St. Vincent DePaul Food Mission is unique in that it is the only food service mission in Memphis that serves 365 days a year. There are no qualifications. All you have to do is you show up, we ask no questions, and you get a meal. When available, to-go bags are also handed out after service for those that come in late for whatever. Guests are from all walks of life, age, and race. They're the working poor, the homeless military, and the homeless mentally struggling. And we're seeing also a lot more women. We don't see as many children except during the summer, but we do see a few, and we have special handouts that we always try and give the children in addition to their meal. It's a daunting project to feed that many people on a daily basis. In addition to securing the food, there is the sheer number of hands needed to execute it. So where does the food come from? It's funded by donations of money and food, time, and talent. There is a direct correlation between the donations and the guests receiving their meals. The mission food source comes mostly from Rhodes College Food Recovery. Chick-fil-A is one of our partners. Palazzolo Produce gives us food from time to time. Monogram Food, Costco, and Grace St. Luke's More Than a Meal. We always look forward to Mondays and getting a text from Jonathan saying, there's food. Also, we have an annual walk for the poor, and the next one will be in September 2024. It's held at Christian Brothers, and that's where a lot of our donations come from that maintain the insurance, the building, everything. We also benefit from some local grants, including several grants that we've had in the past from Grace St. Luke's. So how is this orchestrated day in and day out? There is no employee base on payroll. The mission is volunteer-based and volunteer-run. Volunteers do everything from picking up donations around town to receiving donations being delivered, separating them, putting them into freezers and refrigerators. And optimally, we need 8 to 10 people every day to volunteer. Many days, particularly after COVID, we don't have that many. The volunteer services are individuals, service groups, friend groups, and we have high school and college students who need service hours. They volunteer, and a lot of times they're the ones that come back routinely. There are even some national service groups who have the mission on their radar, and they come and they travel to Memphis, and they come every year. One of them is the Praying Pelicans, which is a national organization. Well, it's actually
It's a youth group, and they, amazingly, they spend a good part of their year raising their own funds to finance their travel expenses, their accommodations while they're in Memphis, and they're here for an entire week. And they will come down and volunteer at the mission. They'll have other projects that may be assigned to them that they volunteered for. It's an amazing organization, and really, really great kids, and we always love working with them. But they call themselves the Praying Pelicans.
Yep. The challenge is in putting together wholesome, robust meals, all centered around what we have. Your family chooses your menu. The mission's menu is, what do we have today? There is one employee who cleans the facility 3 times a week. We are looking for someone to cook each day, and the position is for 20 hours. If you know of someone, please have them contact us. Today's challenge, more and more guests who are food deprived due to the economy or age or mental illness. Purchased foods are more costly. The constant need to source donations and the call to recruit volunteers. The work is the most challenging. The mission is often an overlooked, vital resource for those struggling in our community. The reward is, after every meal, there is at least that day, one more day, that a large number of Memphians are not hungry. If you would like to donate your time, your talent, or if you want to donate your wallet, I encourage you to come talk to us. We have left some handouts in the back that kind of gives you an overview, and included with it, as I was Googling St. Vincent DePaul to see what else was out there, there was a blog that someone had written evidently during COVID. And it sounds like to me maybe it was one of our guests. And it's pretty informational. So I encourage you to pick up some of the brochures. We also have some pictures, and it gives you a picture of what we're really like. And if you want to, come volunteer.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Larry. As Suzanne was saying, there's merchandise and information on that back table from everyone, from RFFH and Sunshine and Daisy and all those good things. So do take a moment after this time is over. Suzanne got us started in talking, so thank you, about getting volunteers and what you all need. I don't know if Larry wants to add any more to that, but I want to make sure that we hear from Janice and from Andrea and from Gretchen on possible ways in which, if involvement were to happen, what that could look like. If somebody's sitting out here this morning and says, what does it take and what do you need? We heard a little bit from Suzanne, so I just didn't know, Larry, if you had something short to add before we go to Janice.
Well, really, the COVID. So we a large segment of our volunteers are seniors, retirees, and once COVID affected the world, we lost a lot of those volunteers, and they were just a little apprehensive about coming down and being in the mix of so many people. We have started gaining some more of those people back, but we're always in need of volunteers. There is an app that we partner with. It's on the information sheet. It's called Volunteer Odyssey. And you can go up on that and scroll down to St. Vincent DePaul. There's a number of worthy charities listed there, and you can sign up. So it makes it pretty convenient if you want to volunteer. But we're always looking for people that want to come, and there's a lot of fellowship, and I promise you, you'll always feel a whole lot better when you leave than when you come.
Yeah, thank you.
And you only volunteer from, say, 8:30 to 11:30. So it is not a whole day. It's just a few hours.
Thank you.
Ours is very similar. We have volunteer opportunities to actually work with the food on Mondays and Thursdays from 11:30 to 1:30. but we have opportunities for drivers to deliver the food to our different partners. We also have opportunities for people to pick up food, for instance, from a movable feast or the FedEx event center. And so we have lots of different volunteer opportunities that sometimes are less than an hour of your time. And we work through Sign Up Genius, and if you take one of our brochures, there's a QR code on the back of that that is all the volunteer slots through the QR code that you can see what's available.
I also wanted to say our food pantry is also no questions asked. So nobody has to show ID or light or water bill or something, so anybody can come. I'm glad you reminded me of that. We have several volunteer opportunities, and we also use Sign Up Genius. So if you're interested, I'll take your email and email you our sign-up link. Ours is a little bit longer. We meet at our start location at about 8:15, and we will bring you back to your car at our start location. It could be it's between 1 and 2. So our time is not exact because we let people shop at their pace. So sometimes it's a little bit longer, but we're always finished by 2. And that's on the 1st and 3rd. And then we have opportunities to deliver food to the Warrior Center on the 2nd and 4th, much shorter commitment. That's just gleaning the food from Whole Foods and then taking it to the Warrior Center, and they unload it. So it's no heavy lifting for that volunteer opportunity. And then we do big gift giving thing for all of our children under 18. So last year we did gifts for 100 kids, and this year I'm sure it'll be a lot more. So only people who come to the bus. So we have these food cards. We don't ask any questions, but we do have a food card so that we know sort of numbers of how many people we're feeding. So only people who have a food card can we do gifts for, because otherwise we would not be able to sustain that practice. We're expecting more than 100 children. So we have a gift wrapping event that we do every year. This will be our fifth year doing that. And it might be more because we did it with St. Elizabeth's a long time ago. I can't remember. It's, as y'all probably know, what we do morphs and changes with things like COVID and different things like that. We also did not stop serving at all during COVID. We continued through the whole thing. Rain, snow, whatever, we're out there. But if you want to volunteer, I can send you the link. Everything through the end of the year is available on there, and we can just write down your email address.
Thank you. And social media and the web makes those things really wonderful and easy. So I do encourage you to check out their good websites. All right, I hope that this energy is spurring you on with energy and hope and community, because it always does for me. So thank you for your sharings. And I'm wondering if y'all have questions, things that you were thinking about or want to know more about. I'm going to hand the microphone off.
Do you feed people 3 times a day? You said you're open 365. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Start giving seconds for anybody that wants a second meal, which generally is about half of what we, if we feed 200 meals, about 100 people will come back for seconds. At 11 o'clock, we start winding it down, and we're usually through by 11:15. And by the time we clean up, and we try to help if we can the team that's coming the next day get ready for them, and it helps the people for the next day. So we're generally out of there by around 11:30 or 11:45. But we feed once a day, every day.
I know, obviously, the Busbys are in a central location, but how did you all know where to go when you first began? What neighborhoods? I mean, I don't know that there's duplication, but, for example, I know Neighborhood Christian Centers is doing the same thing. I know lots of organizations are doing the same thing, and I think it's fabulous that you do what you do. I'm just curious to know, how did you know where to begin?
Well, with us, we actually met on the street feeding people in a parking lot on Jackson Avenue. I needed a place to go because where I was volunteering before,
decided to shut down. So I went to the Jackson Avenue location. They were feeding every Sunday. And then after we would feed, we'd have so many hot meals left. I was like, Gretchen, we got to do something with this food. So we started driving around in neighborhoods, and people are outside. We were like, hey, would you like some food? And of course, they're like, no. But then they finally figured out, oh, they're coming back. So we kept coming back. And we just started seeing the same people over and over. And so that's what we did. So we would drive around and see people outside and ask them. And then we started having the Whole Foods, and it was like asking people if they would like some milk. And they were just like, you're going to give us milk out of your car? So, and that's how we did that.
So I was the youth minister at St. Elizabeth's, I forgot how many years, like 9 years, 11 years or something. And I don't know if y'all remember the Leicester Street shootings. It was a big deal in Memphis, and the youth group would sit around and we talked about what is the opposite of what happened there. I mean, like, we had this serious conversation, like sitting on the floor, my youth and I did. And we were like, okay, the opposite of that is love. How can we, just as our small little group, spread love? And so we decided we were going to make meals out of our kitchen at St. Elizabeth's, and we would take them out in my minivan. I can't never get rid of that thing because it's done so many things. We would drive around, the youth group. We would have several vehicles. We would go and we would drive around, and we would start in this one parking lot, which is where I met Andrea. And it's the parking lot where there's a Family Dollar and what's the car? AutoZone. I was like, what's the car store? It's right there. And we would always start with the food that we had taken from St. Elizabeth, and all the youth kids, we would always start in that parking lot. And we did that one day, and there was a church feeding hot meals there, and we partnered with them, St. Elizabeth's did, for several years. We would do hot meals out of that parking lot. And so then Andrea and I met, and we realized very quickly that what we wanted to do was very similar. So we partnered up, and we literally drove around and just asked people if they wanted food. And when the trust was built, that's how we start on Mamie Street, and there's just tons of people on Mamie that want the food. And then then they'll tell somebody else that we are bringing food. And then they'll say, hey, there's this woman over here, her husband just died, she needs food. And it's really word of mouth. So we're talking Raleigh Bartlett? Yeah, well, it's not really. It's like off of Jackson Avenue. We call it Nutbush. It's like so if you pass the interstate, you're going down Austin P and it turns into Jackson Avenue. You get past the interstate, after the interstate, up until National, back in the neighborhood there. Yes, it's to the left there. We feed. Right there by Jackson Elementary. Yes, exactly. Right past Jackson Elementary. We go back into the neighborhood with the bus and we feed people. We have 2 locations where we stop the bus and people can get on, but we have a few people who are grandfathered in to the van days who we drop the food off at their house, but we don't deliver to the house unless it's an emergency food box, and we can only send 1 emergency food box every 6 months to a family. Just because of our budget, we could do it every day, but we just don't have the money or the food.
Quick question, Gretchen. I remember I never thought of some homeless people having their animals as their comfort buddies, and it was a big thing to donate pet food. And so if we were wanting to make a donation, how would you want that donation to be made? In cans and pouches rather than the big bags? Can you address that?
So sometimes we have volunteers, even if we get big bags. The big bags tend to be the cheapest. So we actually repackage the big bags into smaller plastic bags that we then tape up. That's how our people are used to getting the food. The pet food is really important. We have people who feed their pets before they feed themselves. And every week we have people asking us for pet food. We actually have 0 pet food right now. And any form of pet food, they'll take anything. They're not picky. We have dogs that recognize our bus. The dogs come to the bus, and we feed the dogs treats. I believe that. So pet food's really hard to get. People don't necessarily want to donate food to the pets, but we have a lot of families or even people who are living on the street where the pets are how they mentally get through the day.
We have guests that come and they will give their food, their initial meal
own holiday, Hollywood Feed, go to Holy Communion. So we might be able to see if there's a connection. See, this is why this is so valuable.
Connections
is
and
everything
community.
we find out where to send our food a lot through word of mouth. And one group says, oh, why don't you try this, go with this agency, this shelter. So a lot of it's just community and word of mouth.
Yep. Thank you, Janice. Community and connections, they are important and deep and wide in Memphis. And thank you all for the ways in which you embody community and connections and are serving such important need. May we give them a round of applause, please? And before I send any who are interested and want to go tour the mobile food pantry that's outside right here on LeMaster, just want to remind folks of probably what you already know, but if you don't, don't forget that our food pantry here with Amy and Jerry Hudson and our work through Church Health Center and Making of Meals continues to take place, and they would love to have new members on their teams, and I see many team members here. We, of course, and we've heard, have more than a meal that's regularly feeding every Sunday, and that is a powerful and long-term ministry, feeding ministry here at Grace St. Luke's, and many members of that ministry are here. I also want to just give a little teaser of not a food ministry, but a new ministry that is within outreach that's going to be beginning in December, and you're going to be reading more about it, Room in the Inn. We are partnering up with Idlewild Presbyterian Church, just over there, to help support Thursday night care for those who are unsheltered, especially those with families, to give them shelter and meal and care and fellowship and good laundry. And there's going to be information about sign-ups and roles. You can team up with folks. You can do it individually. But stay tuned because more of that is to come, and just want to make you aware, okay? This place is alive and well in terms of Memphis and the community, and the ripples go out for the ways in which people feel called to serve. And the need is great, right? The need is great, but there are people to stand into the gap. So thankful for that, and thankful for all of you. So for those that want to go and see the wonderful mobile food pantry,